How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Crypto Clout. I am your host, Faze Crypto. Today, I would like to discuss Bitcoin, Cardano, and the greater altcoin space. Of course, I think that it's important to tie in some of the recent news that we've been seeing. Of course, now on the top of the list, we've got European Central Bank rejects some cryptocurrency plans. Kind of funny. Definitely brings to mind how the different governments around the world's response to cryptocurrency is essentially either going to sign their own death warrant, or it's going to put them in the rocket ship just like the rest of the world of crypto, or vice versa. All that being said, though, I think that it's important to discuss Cardano as much as possible. There's definitely a lot of things that, if you want to get distracted by the USD value of any individual crypto, it's got to come into mind. We can't just talk about an altcoin's specific USD without really talking about Bitcoin. It's always sort of suspect when people talk about Litecoin's value without talking about the correlation with Bitcoin, just because it's pretty much just a roundabout way of discussing what's happening with the current Bitcoin, especially at 70% dominance. I think that their futures are pretty much tied. As far as all the Moon Boys go and all these different things. But in particular, I want to discuss Cardano and the developments that we can expect to see in the short term as well as the long term. I think that it's important to talk about smart contracts and what we've been seeing happening involving the greater cryptocurrency space in terms of technology, in terms of exactly what it would take to see a bull run for Cardano, or vice versa. The overall, what we're going to actually witness happening right now in Bitcoin's local time frame, which is why, of course, I have pulled up here what's happening with Bitcoin at the current time. Live Bitcoin price coverage right here. Hopefully we'll be getting to start to do some live streams of the Bitcoin price so that we can all sort of hop in the chat together and have a real-time discussion about what's happening. But I would say right now we are at the crossroads, whether we're going to see Bitcoin continue on its upward. If the bulls are going to take control, or if the bears are going to finally plunge us down. I think that right now, this sort of next 72 hours to a week will definitely be a pretty interesting determining definitely a historic moment that will pretty much set the stage for what we're going to see happening in 2020. Of course, remember, this video is for just entertainment, educational purposes only. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm only making this content to express my opinions. And of course, I've been accumulating. I'm just accumulating all along in preparation for what we can expect to see. I think 2020 and beyond, there will be a time when the average person does not own a Bitcoin. And I know right now, even at $10,000, I saw an interesting comment that was saying, the average person around the world does not have $10,000, let alone a single Bitcoin. When you think about the wealth gap between people who actually own Bitcoin and people who don't, it's monumental, because there's rich people out there who see cryptocurrency as just a passing fad, who will probably be getting stomped under when the stock market inevitably crashes. And I think that that's why it's important to have enough foresight, to look at these different things. So of course, Cardano 2-year celebration. It will be interesting to see, Emergo and Shelly and all these other things that we can expect to see. I also want to discuss, the founder of Cardano, Charles, and exactly what we can expect to see, as far as what Cardano has established for itself. When we want to talk about things like the academic credentials that Cardano has set down for itself, and the inevitability that the rest of the cryptocurrency space is essentially going to have to adapt or die when it comes to the progress that Cardano has made for itself. And excuse me, I think it will be interesting to see. Now, of course, top performers at the time of making this video, we've got I was looking at this earlier, Tron. Kind of weird to see Tron on this list, but at the same time, not at all. EOS at the same time, having a very healthy 10% bump, but still the winner. Chill is never not heard that name for a while, but yeah, it is very interesting to see how the space has been shaping up. A lot of these different things have been coming together in a very interesting way. Of course, don't forget the points of maximum financial of course, interesting to see how Cardano has been making some interesting power plays in the global stage. I mean, one of the things that I really pulled up this decided to make this video was I wanted to just talk about how ultimately a lot of parts of the world are being ignored when we want to talk about the banking of the unbanked and all these other things. I mean, it is very important to have the conversation about how Cardano has strategically been getting their foot in the door, in particular with developing countries and a lot of places that will have a big use for cryptocurrency. Because you think about it, in the United States, people already have all their banking needs fulfilled, so it's less of a demand for something like cryptocurrency, which I think, if you want to get my personal opinion on it, I'm going to say right now, I think in the future, people's kids are going to be asking them, how could you not buy a Bitcoin at this? I think in the future we will, inevitably, I think eventually on a long enough time scale, the value of a Bitcoin being $1 million is not far-fetched at all, in particular, but I don't think that USD will still be the same thing, but I do believe that Bitcoin has that potential to still be a store of value. I just think that it will take another paradigm shift before we actually have a demand for that sort of store of value. And you have to consider the amount of time. We're still in such the early stages of the internet right now, that it's very interesting to think about how the future is going to look after the internet's existed for 100 years, or after the internet's existed for 200 years, 1,000 years of the future, all recorded on the internet. That is very interesting. It's almost, it's a spooky thought to think about. But this right here is an interesting article to highlight. Altcoin surge against Bitcoin after several months in a bear trend. Of course, all the top 10 coins have registered gains in the last 24 hours, according to CoinMarketCap, following growing digital assets. EOS was 7.7. I don't think that the altcoins are going to go and rise up. Without Bitcoin doing the same. It's not the norm to see something like that taking place. But ultimately, I do have faith in projects such as Cardano, and of course, decentralized public blockchain, open source. I think when we want to talk about transparency and all these other things, it's going to be very interesting to see Cardano. And I'm a believer in Cardano. Anybody can say whatever they want. You're all entitled to your own opinions, but I'm very excited about what Cardano is doing. I'm personally a believer. And of course, if you guys enjoyed this content, make sure that you put a thumbs up and comment down below letting us know what you think about Cardano, and especially share it around if you're a believer as well. I think that we will be seeing some pretty exciting things, and I think a lot of people who've criticized Cardano will have to eat their words, and basically buy at a higher price, but that's just my personal prediction, for my own usage. But yeah, all that being said, now I hope you guys are having a good day. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the price of Bitcoin in this next week. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys stay safe and everything, and I'll see you guys next video. Have a good one.